How do you find the drive to continue to do the thing that you set out to do 55 days ago? When I sat down to think about a topic to talk about in today's video, the first thing I wrote was, these days are the hardest. And yeah. These days are the hardest. And then I just sat and I stared at it for a minute or two. And I was just trying to think of, why. Because there's a bunch of things that come up throughout the day that I say, oh, I could talk about that, you know. Yeah, as I go through the day and just not following through with that idea, because most of the time, not all of the time, but a lot of the time I'm like doing things, I'm doing chores, or you know um out walking my dog, or just doing, running errands. Just as things are going on throughout the day, I might get reminded of something, or an idea will get sparked and I go, oh yeah, I could probably talk about that. And but it oftentimes, I always feel like I have to stop everything that I'm doing in order to 100% focus in on the content that I want to create. And I have been really thinking about it a lot, with me consistently posting late in the evening, because that I think by that time is when everything has settled down. There's nothing for me to really do. Even on the days that I don't have anything to do, which would be the most optimal times for me to post earlier in the day, I think what ends up happening is I prioritize resting over um, everything. But I know that I'm going to post, but I end up just posting later in the day. And that's what I was just trying to write down the things that make it, more challenging on my daily posting journey. And as I mentioned, prioritizing rest on a lot of days, because I'm trying to do this in a way where I don't get burnt out. I want to enjoy the process, which I have been. It's been great, but some days it's tough. You know what I mean? Because it may seem, as random as my videos have been over the last almost 2 months now, it still takes a good amount of effort to, even when it is something that I decide to talk about, it takes a good amount of mental energy and effort and thought, to try to convey, whatever it is that I want to share with you all. And that's something that I'm trying to get, even better with, providing a clearer message, or, getting, yeah, just conveying my message a bit more clearly as I crank out these daily videos. And so it's just, yeah, I expected the daily challenge to be, the daily posting for 100 days to be challenging. I figured, at some point it's going to start getting real hard, okay? Okay, and I think I'm halfway through, you know what I mean? I'm excited and motivated because I'm like, oh no, you done came this far, you gotta keep going. Right. So I always have that, you know, and I've been building up this muscle, this discipline. And so that alone right there is just already keeping me driving forward no matter what. Because ultimately, I, you know, this is what I want, you know, and just working towards, you know, my goal of creating content that hopefully resonates with someone out there, you know, even if it is just so that someone knows that they're not alone in some of the things that they might be dealing with or, you know, thinking about as far as um, going after the goals that they want in life and, you know, designing a life that they, you know, desire to live. And the best way that I can, you know, do that is by sharing my own journey, right? At least that's what I believe. And so yeah, that's what came up for me, you know, like I said, I sat down and I want to get back into kind of writing my thoughts and stuff down more because I think that actually helps me. In the beginning, when I first started my channel, I still was working full time, and so like I had to write stuff down because I was working around, you know, a full time work schedule, and so it was tough, you know. So I had to kind of make sure that whatever I decided to talk about, that I, you know, had some notes and, you know, something right in front of me. And I think I want to get back to that because to me that was more helpful. But I kind of strayed away from it because I just wanted to not have to rely on that and just be able to speak, you know, freely about, you know, whatever it was that I wanted to share. And so that's what I'm going to do. And also, this is a sidebar conversation. It's crazy how, you know, I mentioned maybe two days ago in my, you know, I kind of was giving an update on, you know, where I'm at with the goals that I've set since moving back home. And one of the major goals was for me to, you know, in my decluttering efforts, trying to resell a lot of the items that I have, like electronics and just different kind of equipment and gear and stuff like that. And I mentioned in that video, you know, for the first like 2, maybe up to 3 weeks that I was home, like I was doing really well. I was able to, you know, in addition to donating a lot of stuff and giving some stuff away, I was able to resell a good amount of things. However, I've been primarily using Facebook Marketplace, but I was talking about how those sales have slowed down, and so I'm kind of going back to the drawing board on the best way to kind of ramp that back up. And it's just funny because I made that video and then the next day I ended up, you know, being able to sell something on Facebook Marketplace. So I took that as a sign that yes, I need to get back to focusing on that because I've been really taking a break from it, honestly. I mean, I still have a lot of things posted for sale, and I've kind of taken a step back because it's like I mentioned before, it's pretty time consuming to post things, you know, up for sale, especially when you put a good amount of effort into it. So with that, you know, with me making that video, giving like a little update, and then that happening the very next day, I was like, okay, yeah, because I had been saying it like, no, I need to get back into it, but I've just a lot of this, I've really been like prioritizing rest, but also too be me trying to discover new hobbies and things of that nature, and just dedicating more time into getting into that stuff, honestly. And one of the things that I want to work on is inviting you all into that, side of it, like the discovery. Because a lot of times when I first come upon something, I'm just like in it, like I get like hyper focused on it, and then I think about it after the fact, like, oh, I could have probably did a video about it. But it would be after the fact. So that's one thing that I want to get better at doing. And with me, starting like my cozy gaming and stuff, and then again just trying to learn the craft of content creation and all of the things that go into it. At least I foresee, with me just starting out doing a lot of the stuff, on my own. And it's really, and I think it's just good for me to, know how to, learn how to use different like editing software and stuff like that. And just, like I said, figuring out my equipment and how it all works in tandem and the best way to utilize things. Like that's really been, like I would say this week that's been my main focus, is just really, learning my craft of, content creation. So the biggest takeaway the biggest takeaway I think from for the week is something that I already you know learned, but even more so now, is, so in one of my videos, what I've learned after 30 days of posting, 30 days of straight of posting. I think it was something like that. It was like what I learned after 30 days of posting daily on YouTube. Um, One of the things that I said in that video was, there's, I don't believe I'd even be able to keep up with the daily posting if I was working like a regular 9 to 5. And even though I was working, when I first started my channel, it wasn't for it wasn't for much longer. After before you know I left my job, and like I could only imagine me. I don't I think ultimately my desire to want to pursue content creation may have kept me going for a long time, but I don't know um, that I would have made it to 55 days if I was still working full time. Because one thing that I realized is that I really, like, for me, like, it really will take a lot for me to really learn, thumbnails, and just because here it goes, the perfectionism, seeping through. Because I know you can kind of throw together some thumbnails and call it a day, but once I kind of get into it, I want it to be right. I want it to be right. So I've just been kind of looking up different styles and just kind of exploring, different apps. I'm looking at Canva and just different apps that you can use for thumbnails and stuff like that. So I've been working, y'all. I've been learning and just, trying to figure stuff out too, because I'm ready to kind of move the channel forward in the best way that I can. Um, you know, and my point was that it's going to take a lot more. It already takes a lot for me to just do the daily posting, but now to really start working on the quality of, my content from all different, aspects. I'm just like, man, this is, yeah. More power to the people that can do it, you know, even with the full-time job and like going to school and all of that stuff, which I know ultimately I would have been able to, but I can say it now, but that's one of the reasons why I ended up experiencing burnout, because I was just doing too much. Like I was just doing a lot. And then because I was going, working full time, going to school full time, studying for certifications, in between. And I was just doing a lot. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't really know. It would have been, I could do a YouTube channel, but it wouldn't have been a daily thing. It probably would have ended up being like maybe a once a week type of thing, really. So I know, so when I think of it in that aspect, yeah, I could, probably crank out a video like once a week with all of that going on, but on a daily basis, I don't think I would have had the bandwidth to do it, because I was already kind of dealing with a bit of burnout. So I don't, something, the ball would have gotten dropped in one area or another. And so yeah, I don't think it would have worked out the way I would have hoped. And just doing a daily and just really understanding that, okay, for me, with the level of knowledge and skill set that I'm working with, which is very beginner, level, um, it's going to take time before I can kind of flow through and boom, where it won't take me as much time as it will be taking me in the beginning. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm I'm glad that I did start when I did, and how things are kind of, aligning, and shaping the environment to be able to commit to cr- creating a better overall channel and better content. I I understand, better what it's going to take in order to do that. So in any event, that's where I'm at, and I'm going to keep going. So you should too. Whatever it is, I know these days, whatever you're working towards, whatever goal you are working towards currently, some days it gets hard, but you gotta continue to focus on, why you're going after what it is you're going after. And I don't want to say keep your eye on a prize. It's so cliche, but ultimately, yeah, I would just, instead of saying that, I would just say continue to focus on the why, what you foresee being, on the other side of all your hard work and dedication. And dig deep. Dig deep and just keep pushing through. And I'm not telling you to do it at the detriment of like your mental health or anything like that, but you know, um, it's okay to still prioritize rest. But ultimately, just keep working towards your goals. Whether you might need to take a quick detour, or prioritize some other things, but yeah, I think it'll ultimately, work out for you. All right, that is all I have for you today. Um, Thank you so much for watching my video, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.